Week 7, and hopefully you guys are having a good time with the book of Hebrews. The objectives this week: explain the message of the New Testament epistles on the humanity and divinity of Christ. Humanity and divinity, what is that? God and man. We've all heard that. He was fully God and fully man, and ultimately it's something that very few evangelicals hear, and he's God and man? So since that's not a new concept to you, you need to evaluate why is it so natural to you, because you've had healthy, probably sound teaching on that for a long time. But what did that concept do when it was announced, when Jesus is announcing, or when Scripture is announcing he's fully God and fully man? What is the significance of that? Trace the key themes of Christ's divinity through the book of Hebrews. Those are the two objectives this week. And then your no discussion board. And so really just assignment 6 is what I'm going to talk a couple minutes on. The reading focuses on the doctrine of Christ in Hebrews. The author, obviously, of Hebrews, notorious for being the book that we really have no idea who wrote it. People obviously always have guesses, but it's a book where the preeminent example of the way in which the epistles and even the New Testament teach about the identity and work of Jesus. So Jesus is who he was, and what he was here to do is championed maybe the loudest in Hebrews. Not only does Hebrews explain to believers exactly who Jesus is, but it also emphasizes what he did and why he needed to be who he was in order to do what he has done for us. Meaning, it's a very big deal what Jesus did, for sure. But he also needed to be who he was for that to even take place. He had to be God and man for the work he did to have taken place. If he wasn't fully God, or if he wasn't fully man, how would that have shifted what happened? Or could it even have been feasible? There are few, if any, more important doctrines in the Christian faith than the person and work of Christ. Consequently, it's extremely important for believers to know how to defend an orthodox position of this doctrine. Even though all believers confess that Jesus is God, not all are certain on how to demonstrate this scripturally. So, it should come as no surprise that this doctrine was one of the most troubling in the early church. So this was a big deal. I think this will become interesting to you when you realize why the early church struggled with this so much. If you were a person in that time frame of the early church, and say the Apostle Paul or someone is coming into your village and teaching about this. What's going on through your mind? What previous doctrine or theology or understanding of God or Christ or whatever would you have had, and how would this teaching have transformed you or your thinking? As the generations of believers following the death of the apostles struggled to understand what was orthodox to believe about Christ, many wondered, was Jesus fully God in the flesh? Was he fully human? So there's been people that have got, okay, he was just God. He wasn't really human at all. That's why he could do what he did and the miracles and everything else. Or he was just an amazing, amazing man. It was very important and did amazing things. But he was a man. You can't say that he was God, some say. No, he was fully God and he was fully man, but how can this be possible? In fact, many heretical views circulated in the church for hundreds of years before being laid to rest. The councils of the 4th and 6th century speak into this. We're not getting into all that. But they essentially established the creedal statements that explain the identity of Jesus, and a lot of those creeds that we refer to, or you may not even know that they're creeds that we recite or you hear in various modes and whatnot have been around since that time. That the church was trying to essentially figure out what is orthodoxy here. This assignment, though, it's intended to help you guys fully grasp. Specifically in the New Testament literature, what is the teaching of Jesus' divinity and humanity? So, to be simple, and for convenience, you should restrict your study here in this assignment just to Hebrews. All right, so don't go outside of Hebrews for this study. We also are suggesting that you carefully study the reading on Christology that we have this week. That is this reading right here by Akin, Martin, and Draper. Okay. So as you use the book of Hebrews, and only the book of Hebrews, develop a strong argument that Jesus is both divine and human. So if you're talking to someone, or someone's going to read it and argue against it based on your paper, that's kind of the mindset we want you to have. So you're trying to both convince someone. Let's say you've got two types of audiences. One type of audience believes he's fully God. One believes he's fully man but not God, and vice versa. You're trying to convince both of them, no, he is both divine and he is human. I'd also like you to give the significance of each. Use your required readings this week, the optional readings, if you need them, and also reread the book of Hebrews multiple times in search of evidence. Your research will be presented and submitted in a 3 to 4 page double-spaced paper. 11 font, or I guess 12 is kind of the standard, no bigger than 12 Times New Roman font. Your argument should revolve around selected passages from the text of Hebrews itself that demonstrate the necessary divinity and humanity of Jesus. I'm also going to say, if it goes over 6 pages, you're going to be slightly marked off, so don't go over 6 pages. Beware of going into too much detail about the nature of Christ. But instead we want you to really focus on merely his dual identity as man and God. We also want you to cite secondary resources used in your study, either from the reading that we gave or other print resources, and we want you to use MLA style. All right, include a flowing introduction. So we want you to structure it like a paper that has an introduction that explains your thesis, meaning what are you going to prove, where are you starting with your thesis, what do you believe to be true, how are you going to prove it, and then you're also going to have a conclusion that draws all your research together and then restates your argument. All right, at the end of your paper, be sure to include a bibliography that includes all the resources cited in your paper, except the scripture. You don't need to have a bibliography or include scripture into your bibliography, though we want you to be telling us, if you quote scripture, tell us where the scripture is from. Okay. All right, that's pretty much it, and hopefully it'll be a fun assignment for you. If you've got questions, please let us know, and I'm going to try to post here a video if I can find it. I have a couple of YouTube videos in the back of my mind on the significance of God and man that I think will be inspiration for you to tackle this topic. If I don't find them, you still have to do the assignment, but I will try to find them, because I think sometimes it's helpful to be inspired by someone on a topic before you tackle a paper. So, all right, have a great week, and talk to you soon.